You can feel it in the air. Something is shifting. It's not just a headline, it's not just a statistic, it's a pulse. It's the heartbeat of a nation that has decided enough. There was a time when India listened more than it spoke, when it watched more than it acted. A time when others believed they could define its destiny, when power was something that had to be borrowed, negotiated, or begged for. But those days, they are gone, and they're not coming back. Today we are living in an India that doesn't ask, will the world allow it? It asks, why should we wait? An India that doesn't wonder, will they respect us, but declares we will make them respect us. And here's the truth, the world is noticing. From Washington to Beijing, from the halls of the United Nations to the boardrooms of billion-dollar companies, eyes are locked on this land, not in pity, not in doubt, but in recognition. Recognition that this is no longer the quiet observer of global politics. This is no longer the humble guest at the table. This is a nation that brings its own chair, sets it down and says, we belong here and we're not leaving. And yes, even when the gaze of the United States turns toward India, there is no tremble, no hesitation. Because fear, that's a currency India no longer trades in. Understand this, fear is not the absence of courage. Fear is a habit. And for far too long, this country carried the weight of other people's doubts, other people's narratives, other people's rules. But now, the habit is broken. This India stands eye to eye with the world, and not just to be seen, but to be heard. Loudly, clearly, unapologetically. Some people don't understand it yet. They're still caught up in the old image. An India that was always emerging but never arrived. But look around. The arrival is here. It's happening in real time. And if you blink, you'll miss the moment history turns. Look at the strength of our economy. Look at the brilliance of our scientists, our innovators, our entrepreneurs. Look at the confidence of our diplomats, who can shake hands with America one moment and stand their ground the next. This is what sovereignty looks like. This is what power sounds like. Because power isn't just missiles and money. Power is the ability to say yes when it's right, and no when it's necessary, no matter who's asking. And that is exactly what this India is doing. I've met young people in the streets of Mumbai who are coding the future in tiny apartments. I've met farmers in Punjab who are using technology that rivals some of the best systems in the West. I've spoken to women in Rajasthan who are running businesses their grandmothers couldn't have imagined. That's not just progress, that's transformation. And transformation doesn't come quietly. It comes with noise, with confidence, with the courage to challenge even the biggest powers in the world. See, when a nation knows its worth, it stops looking for validation. And when it stops looking for validation, it becomes unstoppable. This India is unstoppable. So let the world take note. Let the United States, let every global power understand this is not a country you lecture to anymore. This is a country you listen to. This is not a player in someone else's game. This is a nation building its own game and winning. We are not afraid of disagreement. We are not afraid of standing alone if we must, because standing alone on the truth is stronger than standing together on a lie. And I want you to feel this deep in your bones. We are living in a time our grandparents prayed for, our parents dreamed of. A time when our identity is no longer defined by what we survived, but by what we are creating. That's why this moment matters. This is not just politics. This is not just economics. This is a declaration to the world. India is fearless. Fearless in its vision. Fearless in its decisions. Fearless in its destiny. And if you are watching this, you are part of it. Whether you're in Delhi or Dubai, New York or Nairobi, if you carry this spirit inside you, you are part of the story. The story of a people who stood up, looked every power in the eye, and said, we're not afraid of you, not anymore. Because when a nation knows its power, no force in the world, not even the United States, can make it bow. This is the moment. This is the rise. And this is only the beginning. Before we talk about today's India, we need to remember where this spirit was forged, because a fearless nation is never built overnight. It is not born from comfort. It is shaped in the fire of struggle. India's courage did not appear out of thin air. It was carved out of centuries where its people refused to break, even when empires tried to bend them. From the fields of Panipat to the shores of Dandi, from voices that rose in quiet prayer to those that shouted in revolution, this land has known every kind of challenge and survived them all. Every scar in our history is proof that we stood. Every setback was a lesson in how to rise higher. Think about it. Generation after generation, foreign powers thought they could erase India's identity. They thought they could control its voice, its will, its dreams. But every time they tried, the spirit of the people answered, "We are more than what you see. You cannot silence us." It's in our DNA, this refusal to surrender. That is why when the world sees India today, confident and unshaken, they are not seeing something new. They are seeing the same fire, only now it burns even brighter. This fearless spirit is not just in our leaders, not just in our soldiers. It is in the shopkeeper opening his store before sunrise, in the student staying up all night to learn, in the farmer who plants seeds, knowing a single storm could take it all away, yet chooses to hope anyway. Fearlessness is not arrogance. It is not about shouting the loudest. It's about knowing who you are, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. And India knows exactly who it is. For centuries we were told to wait our turn. Now we don't wait. We act. We decide. We lead. And here's the truth. This confidence comes from a history we will never forget. A history that tells us, if we could endure the toughest storms of the past, there is no power today, not even the most influential in the world, that can make us bow, because we have been tested by time, and time has chosen us to rise again. There was a time when India's voice was soft in global rooms. We spoke carefully, we measured every word, we waited for others to move before we took a step. And in that waiting, we sometimes accepted terms we didn't write, deals we didn't shape, and timelines we didn't control. But that India is history. The India we live in today doesn't just enter the conversation, it sets the conversation. It doesn't wait for the world to say, "You may speak now." It says, "We're speaking, listen if you want to keep up." This is not recklessness, this is maturity. This is the confidence that comes when you've earned your place through decades of hard work, innovation, and resilience. We are no longer the emerging market that needs guidance. We are a market that sets global trends. We are no longer a developing voice that needs to be coached. We are a voice that can shape peace talks, trade agreements, and climate commitments, and do it on our terms. Look at how we handle global negotiations now. We sit across from the biggest economies, the oldest powers, and we don't blink. We are open to partnership, yes, but partnership is not submission. Friendship is not obedience. And that is the shift the world is still getting used to. An India that will work with you but will not be worked over. An India that can say yes to collaboration and no to compromise on its sovereignty. When you know your worth, you don't ask for permission, you offer opportunity. And that's exactly what India is doing right now. Whether it's in trade, technology, space exploration, or defense, we are not waiting to be invited to the table, we are building our own table, and the world is lining up for a seat. And here's the part I want every listener to feel deep inside. This confidence isn't just in government offices or diplomatic channels. It's in the young entrepreneur launching a startup without waiting for perfect conditions. It's in the filmmaker telling stories without asking the West what's marketable. It's in the scientist making breakthroughs without seeking outside validation. We are rewriting the rules not just for ourselves but for every nation that was once told to stay in line. India is proof that when you stop waiting for permission, you become unstoppable. Diplomatic courage is not about picking fights. It's not about raising your voice in every meeting just to be noticed. It's about standing so firm in your truth, so clear in your purpose that no matter who sits across the table, whether it's your oldest friend or your strongest rival, you do not lose yourself. For decades, global diplomacy often felt like a one-way street for nations like ours. We were expected to listen more than we spoke, to nod when the powerful nodded, to sign where they pointed, and to be grateful for a place in the room. But today, that room feels different, because now when India walks in, it walks in knowing it has earned every inch of that seat. We have friends, strong, valuable friends in every corner of the globe. And yes, the United States is one of them, a powerful nation, an important ally, a partner in trade, defense, and technology. But friendship is not the same as obedience. Respect is not the same as submission. And here is where courage shows its true face. We can shake hands with America, work side by side on shared goals, celebrate successes together, and still say no when the request goes against our interests. That's not hostility, that's integrity. Some people, especially in the past, believed that small nations had to choose between independence and partnership, that you couldn't have both. But India has shown the world that you can. We have proven that a relationship can be honest without being weak, firm without being unfriendly. We will not be pressured into taking sides in every global conflict that isn't ours. We will not be guilted into opening markets on terms that hurt our people, and we will not be bullied into abandoning our principles, not by the United States, not by any superpower. The truth is, strength in diplomacy isn't about being loud. It's about being consistent. It's about saying, these are our values, these are our interests, and they are not for sale. And when you say that clearly, with dignity, even the biggest powers have no choice but to respect it. Think about it. Our voice now matters so much that global leaders court it. They know that India's stance can shift the balance in climate policy, trade pacts, defense alliances, and peace talks. That's power. But power without courage is just decoration. It means nothing unless you use it to stand up for yourself and for those who cannot. And we are not afraid to do that. We can sign a deal with Washington on clean energy, then turn around and say, on this matter we disagree. We can work with the United States on technology, but still invest in our own systems so that we are never dependent. That's not anti-American, that's pro-India. Courage also means we do not burn bridges when we disagree. We don't storm out of the room, we don't play the victim, we don't throw tantrums. Instead, we stay in the room, hold the gaze, and keep our ground. Because we know that real power is in being steady, not reactive. And let's be clear, the reason we can do this today is because we have built the strength to stand on our own if we must. Economically, militarily, technologically, India is not the fragile nation some once imagined. That's why our words carry weight. That's why our no lands as heavily as our. This is the example we are setting for every nation watching, that you can be friends with giants without letting them carry you in their pocket, that you can build bridges without building chains, that respect is worth more than approval. I want you to imagine a young diplomat from another small country watching India today. Imagine them seeing us hold our line in a high-stakes meeting with America or China, and realizing they can do it too. That's leadership. That's influence. And it doesn't come from fear. It comes from the fearless. Because here's the truth. If you bend too far to please a friend, you are not in a friendship. You are in servitude. And India was not born to serve anyone's interests but its own. So yes, we will be allies. We will be partners. We will share knowledge, share technology, share dreams for a better world, but we will never share the steering wheel of our own destiny. And if that means at times standing alone, then so be it. Because standing alone on principle is still stronger than standing together on terms that compromise your soul. This is what diplomatic courage looks like in the 21st century. Not shouting across oceans but speaking firmly across tables. Not chasing approval but earning respect. Not bowing to the loudest voice, but listening to your own first. That's why today, India's place in the world is not just as a participant, it is as a force, a nation whose handshake is strong, whose word is steady, and whose spirit is unshakable. And that spirit, that courage, will not be moved, not by pressure, not by threat, and not by the shadow of any power, even the United States. There is a kind of strength that doesn't come from armies or weapons. It doesn't even come from the size of your land or the number of your people. It comes from the mind, from the ability to create, to imagine, to build something out of nothing. And in this century, that kind of strength is everything. This is where the new India shines. Because while some nations rely on what they can take from the world, India is building on what it can create for the world. Look at our innovation. Our scientists are not just following the breakthroughs of others, they are making their own. We've sent missions to the moon and Mars at a fraction of the cost of other nations. We've developed homegrown vaccines and distributed them not only to our people but to countries in need across continents. That's not just science, that's service, that's leadership. Look at our technology sector. From the bustling streets of Bengaluru to the tech hubs of Hyderabad, we are shaping the digital future. Indian minds are behind some of the world's biggest tech companies, leading not only in software but in AI, cybersecurity, and green technology. We are not waiting to import solutions, we are exporting them. And then there's culture, our soft power. The world has always been drawn to India's colors. Its music, its stories, its food, its spirit. But what's different now is that we are no longer presenting our culture as a relic of the past. We are fusing tradition with modernity, ancient wisdom with cutting-edge creativity. Bollywood is streaming on every platform. Yoga is practiced in every time zone, and Indian art is filling galleries from Paris to New York. This matters because culture is influence. It shapes how the world sees you, how they speak to you, and how they treat you. And today, India is showing that our heritage is not a weight holding us down, it's a wind at our back, pushing us forward. The more we innovate, the less dependent we become. The more we create, the less we have to borrow. And that's the beauty of this moment. India is no longer waiting for someone else to hand it the tools. We are building our own tools, our own systems, our own platforms. Self-sustaining doesn't mean isolating. We are still connected to the world, but from a position of choice, not necessity. When you can feed yourself, you choose what to buy. When you can defend yourself, you choose your allies. When you can create your own future, you choose how to share it. Think about the power in that. If tomorrow every major global supplier shut its doors, India wouldn't crumble, it would adapt, because we have the talent, the knowledge, the creativity, and the will to keep moving forward. And this is not just an achievement for the elite. Innovation is happening in villages, in small towns, in classrooms where children are learning to code before they learn algebra. It's happening with farmers using drones, shopkeepers using mobile payments, and women entrepreneurs starting businesses from their living rooms. That's the quiet revolution. Not one led by slogans, but by skills. Not one that waits for permission, but one that builds and builds until the world has no choice but to notice. And the world is noticing. They are seeing a country that can host the G20 and a space launch in the same week. A country that can sign billion-dollar tech deals while still honoring its farmers. A country that can feed its people, defend its borders, grow its economy, and share its culture without depending on the goodwill of others. When you reach this point, you stop chasing approval. You stop fearing rejection, because you know that whether the world stands with you or not, you will stand anyway. That is the strength of a self-sustaining nation. And that is why India can look at any global power, even the United States, and say, "We value your friendship, but we do not need your permission to thrive." Because when a nation can create its own destiny, there is no limit to where it can go. I want you to hear me when I say this. This moment we are living in right now is not ordinary. It is not just another chapter in history. It is the page future generations will point to and say, that was the turning point. That was when India decided it would never bow again. And here's the truth. Strength is not just built by governments, armies, or billion-dollar companies. Strength is built by the everyday choices of its people. By you. The courage of a nation begins with the courage of its citizens. Every time you speak up for what's right, you add to that courage. Every time you choose to create instead of copy, you add to that courage. Every time you refuse to let fear dictate your future, you add to that courage. For too long, we were told to think small, to stay humble in the face of giants. to accept the role others assign to us. But no more. The giants are no longer towering over us, they are standing beside us. And in many cases they are looking to us for the path forward. But here's the danger: history has shown that even strong nations can slip back into dependence if they forget the price of their independence. If they grow comfortable, if they start believing that someone else will take care of their future, they lose the very thing that made them great. We cannot afford that. We cannot let this era of strength be a temporary flame. We must keep feeding it. With innovation, with unity, with courage. And unity doesn't mean we all agree on everything. It means that no matter our differences, we stand together when it comes to protecting the dignity and destiny of our country. That is the kind of unity that terrifies those who wish to control us. I want every young person listening to understand this. Your dreams are part of the national mission. If you choose to be bold, to build, to lead, you are not just building your own life. You are building the India that will stand fearless 100 years from now. And to those who still doubt themselves, who think, I'm just one person, what can I do? Remember this: every revolution in history began with one person who decided they would not live one more day in fear. That is how it starts. That is how it spreads. We have already proven to the world that we will not be bullied, pressured, or cornered. Not by any nation, not even by the most powerful in the world like the United States. But now we must prove it to ourselves every single day, because real freedom is not won once, it is defended daily. It's in the way we vote, the way we work, the way we treat one another, the way we carry ourselves in the world. So let this be the vow we take together, that we will never return to the posture of fear, that we will never accept a future built by someone else's terms, that we will live, work, and dream as a people who know their worth, and refuse to be anything less than what they are capable of. Look at the road ahead. It will not always be smooth. There will be pressure, there will be threats, there will be moments when standing tall will feel like standing alone. But that is when we must remember this era and protect it with everything we have. Because the future of India will not be written by those who bow. It will be written by those who rise. And we will rise. We will lead. We will stand fearless. For as long as the sun rises over this land, and when the world looks at us, they will not see a follower, they will not see a beggar, they will see a nation that stood in its own power, embraced its own destiny, and never ever let it go.